Mahad Salad, the man credited with transforming Mogadishu's security landscape during his previous tenure as the head of Somalia's National Intelligence and Security Agency, NISA, returns as the country faces a critical moment. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's decision to reappoint Salad comes as the Horn of Africa nation prepares for a landmark shift from a clan-based electoral system to universal suffrage in 2026. The reappointment, welcomed by both sides of the political divide, is seen as a significant political maneuver by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. Security is a matter of everyone's interest, from the government and the opposition to the ordinary citizen, says Farhan Ali Ahmed, Somalia's former state minister for internal security. It's one sphere where most people are on the same page. Farhan Ahmed was a member of the cabinet in former President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed's government that approved Mahad Salad's appointment in August 2022. Mahad Salad is credited with changing Somalia's security landscape during his first tenure as head of the intelligence agency, NISA. As the then state minister for internal security, Ahmed worked closely with the 45-year-old spy chief, whom he describes as a man of integrity, capable, and dedicated to his work. When he assumed office, people felt there was something new. Even the perception of security changed. He introduced many new things. His appointment was an added value to the security sector, Ahmed tells TRT Africa. He was very energetic, and he wanted to make sure everyone living in the city feels safe. Security analyst Abdulwahab Sheikh Abdisamad believes Mahad Salad being back at the helm of NISA bodes well for security in Somalia at a critical time in its history. He is credited with significant reforms within NISA, including modernizing the agency's operations by creating the first legal framework, he says. In a landmark move, Parliament passed the National Intelligence and Security Law during his tenure in 2023, which replaced outdated legislation, clarified NISA's functions, and introduced accountability to protect Somali citizens' rights while maintaining national security, explains Abdisamad. Mogadishu's third eye. Terrorism once had the Somali capital in a chokehold as assassinations and bomb explosions became the order of the day. Public mobility was limited and business was stifled, with al-Shabaab terrorists running a parallel tax collection system. When Mahad Salad introduced electronic surveillance on the capital streets, things changed dramatically. He encouraged the agency to embrace new technology such as the use of CCTV cameras at key checkpoints in Mogadishu and the main business centers like the famous Bakara market. Abdisamad tells TRT Africa. Despite challenges in installing the cameras, Mahad Salad was steadfast in his zeal to ramp up electronic surveillance. "We are fighting terrorists, and everyone must have it," he would say, using it as a rallying call to get the business community to install CCTV cameras in their shops. Mahad Salad is also credited with increasing NISA's boots on the ground, taking Mogadishu's undercover intelligence to the next level. He employed a lot of young Somalis to gather intelligence, recalls former Internal Security Minister Ahmed. No-nonsense approach. The game-changer in the war against terror was Mahad Salad's ability to get the community on his side, even as he went about his task with cold precision. As Ahmed puts it, civilian trust invariably anchors the battle between the government and terrorists. When the security sector is corrupt and inefficient, people will see it as the government's failure to protect them. If trust is lost, you consequently lose the battle against terrorism, he says. The presidential decision last week to reinstate Mahad Salad is, therefore, seen as a tactical move to restore confidence in the government's handling of security matters and enhance civilian participation in securing Somalia and transitioning to the country's first universal elections next year. Salad has knowledge and experience in intelligence and national security operations. He has previously held various positions, including minister, member of parliament, and director of NISA. A Council of Ministers statement announcing his appointment said, "If you want to park a car on the street, there are young men and women, business people, or ordinary people walking on the streets who will stop you if they suspect something sinister. It's the same if you try to rent a house in Mogadishu. Those who live on the property, the owner or neighbors, will report you if they have suspicions about you," says Ahmed. Challenges at hand. Mahad Salad, who resumed office on June 12, carries on his shoulders the hopes of an entire nation rising from a protracted civil war and perennial terrorist threats. "I think the war against al-Shabaab, that is his main job," Ahmed tells TRT Africa. The public's expectations of him are high. Based on his previous performance, both the political class and the ordinary man expect the NISA chief to handle the country's security matters firmly and effectively. Mahad Salad returns to office as the country heads to critical elections in 2026. Security analysts say NISA would need to employ new tactics and strategies to combat Al-Shabaab terrorist group. The agency is also expected to work closely with government wings across sectors. Another key factor would be coordination with external agencies, especially ATMIS, African Union Transition Mission in Somalia. The African Union has sent troops from Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Uganda, and Burundi to help restore security and stability in Somalia following years of conflicts. Somalia's neighbors, particularly Kenya, have suffered a series of attacks carried out by Al-Shabaab, straining relations, business, and movement of people in the region. Elections at stake. People have their biometrics recorded during voter registration in Mogadishu. As the Horn of Africa nation edges closer to elections, voter registration exercises have been smooth, with no known security breaches so far. I can say this is the fruit of his, Mahad Salad, work while he was in office, says Ahmed. He closed all doors and windows that the terrorists were using to harm civilians. That is the reason the government reappointed him. They need his services to make sure that everyone feels safe. Securing the country through a sensitive election period and flushing out extremist elements are the biggest challenges Mahad Salad will confront as the head of Somali intelligence.